called Jack Charles versus the Crown before capacity audiences at London's Barbican Theatre.
Mine's not been a perfect life, Your Honours. I have not been a perfect citizen.
This is one of the highlights of my life, is to come over to the country of the Crown to tell my story.
I somehow secretly believe that people are using me like now, you know, says let's get him in something before the old bugger passes and that.
I caught up with Jack just before he left for London in Her Majesty's Theatre, Melbourne. Well, Jack Charles, welcome to Compass in this beautiful theatre in Melbourne.
Yes, thank you. Thanks very much, Geraldine. And I say welcome to country too. This edifice, this wonderful theatre's placed on the lands of the Bunurong people,
yes.
The lands of my mother.
My own personal welcome to country.
You have.
There's a great line your great mate, John Romerell, says that we're witnessing the ripening of Jack Charles.
Are you?
Do you agree? And what does that ripening mean to you?
Well, put it in this way. When Rod McNichols in 2012 won the National Photographic Portraiture Prize with my image, his take on it was, oh, this is my quiet celebration of Jack's late blossoming. He's in full bloom now. And that's what Romerell's saying here too, you know. And that's what I say in my tiny little mind. I turn it right round and say, well, I am the black light of the future. I have the same initials as the original JC, you know. And I try to maintain everything in my life with forbearance and understanding that the original JC had.
Jack Charles is one of our most respected and enduring actors. He's appeared in landmark Australian films and television dramas.
This magic man, boss. Kadaitcha man.
Kadaitcha man?
Christ, don't leave! Don't want him feral mucking around with me!
Underneath a clear blue sky, Anna. Free. Yeah, free. Hey, she's probably still out there somewhere.
Jack's career began more than 50 years ago, when he was 19. He performed in dozens of plays and in 1971 co-founded Nindathana, Australia's first Indigenous theatre, with Bob Mazza.
Bob was saying that we need a resurgence in Aboriginal, stories here. We need to, tell the stories ourselves. And I just come out of New Theatre, 7 years with the New Theatre in an amateur capacity. The New Theatre was my NIDA, and that, you know. So hooking up with Bob, kicking off Black Theatre, we did it at the Pram Factory, the first production there.
What's been the legacy of that setting up?
Well, we've got, stories now are coming out, like Redfern now. We've got Trevor Jameson travelling around the world with the story of Namatjura. But we're 200 light years behind the Americas in employing Indigenous people in the employment in the arts. But they're coming through now. There's so many now coming through the arts. This is the legacy Bob Mazza and I have left. That's what we've done. I could be anybody on stage. You've come into like a womb, and you're born on the stage. When you're pushed out on stage, that's when you're born. And you've got something that's lasting, even though it's only for a couple of hours.
Oh, there's plenty over Patsy Daly's place.
But even in his early days, Jack was leading a double life. His acting career was dogged by a heroin addiction that would rule his life for the next 40 years. On reflection, why do you think you turned to drugs?
Because it was better than alcohol. I was a bad drinker at the pram factory, chasing Max Gillies up backstage, wanting to kill him because I was so drunk. Having to go at Big Bruce Spence and all that kind of stuff. So I realised, no, I'm a bad drinker. So in the pram factory days, I jumped off to Giggle Juice, drinking heavily to get on, out of the fire into the fry pan, out of the fry pan into the fire.
To support his drug habit, Jack became a thief, a cat burglar, who robbed homes in the middle of the night, mostly in Melbourne's wealthy suburbs like Kew.
I'm brave enough, I'm black enough to say that I was actually collecting rent on Mum's land. It's Boonwurrung country under the lands of the Wurundjeri Nations and the Kulin Nations. It's the land of my mother. They needed to pay rent. They're on prime Aboriginal real estate here.
For his crimes, Jack was jailed 22 times. But at least once, his fame helped him slip the net.
It was this house up in Kew that I was caught, stealing from. The bloke grabbed me. And he said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm robbing you, mate." And he said, "Well, what are you taking?" "Well, I've just got started. Empty your pockets." And his missus had just finished parking the car. And he said, "You got him?" "Yeah, he's in the bedroom here. Call the police." "No, I want to have a look at him first." So she comes in, takes one look and she says, "You're Jack Charles." So I tried to shrink into nothingness. This woman had seen me at the pram factory and that. So
she didn't want to do anything about it?
She didn't want to do anything about it. We had a cup of tea and a talk, and why do you do this? Well, the pram factory only employ me when they want an Aboriginal. And I said, "All right, Jack, we're not going to call the police, but please don't rob us again." And I never did.
Jack's life of crime and drug addiction has to be seen in the context of his early life. As a baby, he was forcibly removed from his Aboriginal parents as part of government policy. He was brought here to the Salvation Army's former boys' home at Box Hill when he was 2 years old.
I'm a survivor of this place. This was the second most vicious Salvation Army home in the state.
The only Aboriginal among 250 boys, Jack, along with many others, endured years of punishment and humiliation.
There was a quadrangle just here and I was made to stand on many occasions from early morning on the corner of the quadrangle until about 2 in the afternoon in my pyjamas. And these were the kind of punishments for bedwetters.
But there was much worse to come. Jack was sexually abused repeatedly by those employed to care for him.
I was placed in that insidious position of being, raped, some say in the name of God, that, I was invaded personally. But, now, thinking back on it, this was how things were in those days, how things were done. This is what happened. And it's hard to get your head around that for many of us still, So it's something that we don't want to be talking about it or keep on remembering because it's too miserable. It's too painful a journey,
Jack reckons he learned to act at the boys' home. A school of hard knocks, in the grimmest sense.
If you were naughty, you were punished by way of you had to put boxing gloves on, and a bigger boy, was ordered to bash you. And There was only one lad who refused to do it. He just refused to flatten me. He'd go like this with a glove, you know, and there'd be noise and things like this, and you hear the thwack. Ooh. And that's where I first started acting, you know. Truth is, at Box Hill Boys' Home, a whitewashed me became a well-mannered, assimilated, if sexually confused soldier of the cross. Excelling at elocution, growing chrysanthemums. What I could remember was as big as my head.
The home also infused Jack with the Salvo's unique brand of quasi-military Christianity.
I love the glory of marching down to the Salvation Army Citadel downtown Box Hill was the highlight of the week for me. It was big. The ladies in their tambourines, a whole row of them, 20 of them, you know, 38-piece brass band behind them and all that kind of... The showbiz, it's fantastic. I love that all. I love all that.
You really became quite a devout Christian.
Oh, yes. This is what you were placed in there to be whitewashed in the blood of the Lamb of Jesus Christ. That's what happened to me.
And did it give you real comfort and consolation for a while?
I liked the stories of the Bible. I wanted to be the donkey carrying Jesus into Jerusalem at that time. That's the kind of, thinking that the donkey carrying Jesus, in amongst the crowd of people.
Jack Charles was barely a teenager when he left the boys' home in 1957.
System was, you turned 14, you left the Box Hill Boys' Home. The day I left, I was given a last punishment. 6 of the best for some minor indiscretion. My last strapping before I was handed my train ticket to Blackburn and escorted out to the front gate carrying a cardboard suitcase. Tears.
Knowing nothing of his Aboriginal culture, Jack went to a foster home where he had his first and only taste of family life.
I left Box Hill Boys' Home a devout Christian. I had no interest in my Aboriginality. And the people that I was fostered to, the Murphy family, they give me a semblance of what it's like living in a family situation.
You knew you were Aboriginal, I take it?
I knew I was Aboriginal, but I didn't want to really expose it, that I was Aboriginal. It was a good life, I really liked living with the Murphys because they had a horse too.
They had a horse?
Yes, I used to ride the horse.
Were you good on a horse?
I was good on a horse, It was a big 17-handed bay gelding, but, I always had a rock to jump on to get into the saddle.
So, did you get any feeling of, quotes, normal family life?
Yes, I did, yes. Mum.
Right, that's what you called her?
Oh, yes, Mum. I called her Mum. That's what the protection people did, is you call her Mum. So I was weaned into, I got to know them, and the rest of their family too, uncles and aunties, so I got to be involved with and I've read since the letter of Mrs. Murphy inquiring to the Aboriginal Protection Board to take me on full time.
But Jack unwittingly destroyed his chance of being adopted by the Murphys when, one night at the age of 17, he began looking for his own family among the fringe dwellers of Melbourne's Fitzroy.
This wasn't allowed because I was there under the assimilation policy specifically to be whitewashed, to be assimilated.
Mrs. Murphy called the police, declared him uncontrollable, and Jack was sent to a juvenile prison.
Nobody told me that I shouldn't be coming into Fitzroy to seek kin, country, kinship and all that. Nobody told me this was illegal. But I did it, and I was jailed for it, and my life mucked up. And of course, that's how I led my life of crime. Started from from having failed my foster mum. It was a jailing offence. And who do you see in the jail, in the home for juvenile offenders? Other failed adopted kids, other failed foster kids, and that. Many of them already on a journey of crime, you know. And I was very much easily led in those days, always looking for love or something like this.
In 2010, a documentary of Jack's life was released and screened nationally on ABC TV. Filmed over 7 years by family friend Amiel Corton-Wilson, Bastardy was a no-holds-barred expose of Jack's life.
I didn't want to hide anything back. It would be unfinished business if I didn't allow the camera to witness exactly what I do, exactly what I say, how I really am at this time in my life. If I was to hide any of this, you know, I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be, you know, a true depiction. This doco wouldn't be a true depiction of my lifestyle, the things I do in my life, you know. And we can't.
Audiences were shocked, but the person it affected most profoundly was Jack, who gave up using heroin after 40 years. I almost get the impression that you became ashamed of yourself, to use that strong word, shame, when you saw Bastardy and you saw yourself shooting up.
Oh, yes. It was when I first saw Bastardy down in the opening night down there. That's when I first saw the full show.
Gave you a shock, did it?
It gave me a shock. But then again, what countered that was the intense silence of the audience, totally immersed in my story. I heard every intake of breath. I heard the silence was deafening at some of the intimate moments on the big screen there. And watching myself and that fella, even I had a little tear for him.
But you must, I mean, you can't, it's so hard to just get off it, isn't it? So there must have been moments when you slipped back on that initially.
No. Once I made that decision, I never regressed. And this is the one good thing that VAS did for me, Victorian Aboriginal Health Service, the doctor there put me onto Turning Point. So once I connected to Turning Point, I made the original decision that I would never regress.
Why do you think you were able to get off it after 40 years when so many others aren't?
Yeah, well, it could be my Aboriginality was called upon, and as I say, real blackfellas don't shoot white powder, and it's as simple as that. I felt inside, it's my conscience working over time here, that I wasn't the real deal when I was shooting up white powder. I started to hide behind my Aboriginality, started to abuse my Aboriginality, and it just didn't seem right to me. The conscience said that it just didn't sit right. A thing the Crown's given me, a thing I wish the Crown would take back, shapes my life, restricts...
Following Bastardy's release, Jack's extraordinary life story was brought to the stage in a production called Jack Charles versus the Crown, that toured nationally before going to London.
Your Honours do know the bare bones of my petition.
It tells how the documentary changed Jack's life, about his rehabilitation and his personal redemption.
I have done what I have done, and to undo it is beyond me. I do not seek absolution. I've done the time. My crimes aren't the focus here. The nature of the punishment I've been dealt is. For no crime was I ever given life, yet a life sentence I seem doomed to serve.
You say there was a lot of forgiveness involved in your redemption. Forgiveness of you and forgiveness of others.
Yes.
Now tell me about that.
Well, retired CIU inspectors and people I've robbed have come and seen Bastardy. And they came and saw Jack Charles versus the Crown. So, in essence, I like to think they've forgiven me. They're admiring this retired old thief, you know, and they're giving him his respect and dues for having moved on, having passed, and that, and so that's what I've received from them, these people, and if they can forgive, then I can forgive.
What about love, Jack?
I only ever had one person, 5 years, and after that person I never bothered with anybody else. And I suppose that's why I kept the feral look, so that I wouldn't, I would look too indecent to be approachable, too scary, too feral, and that's why I kept myself like that. And why I still, I suppose, do it, you know.
I was doing the blood knot when I first met him. Well, I knew him before then, but he made himself more prominent in the blood knot by sitting right at my bloody feet every night of that performance. And I was wondering who this Blanc was, you know, sitting down the front, looking at me through his four eyes, you know. Total rapture in his eyes. I could see it now, you know. And it was Jack Hewson, you know. When he said the magic words, you know, I love you, you know, well, I just... no, you know, I haven't been told like that, you know, nobody told me that before, you know. And so I said, well, you better stay the night, and that was it, you know. That's how we kicked off. It was as simple as that, you know.
You don't yearn for a relationship?
Not now, not now. I'm pretty comfortable with myself.
With his drug addiction and jail time behind him, Jack believes he's in a unique position to help turn offenders' lives around. But ironically, as a convicted criminal, Jack isn't allowed inside jails. He's also prohibited from entering many countries.
It's very hard to be taken seriously once you've got a criminal record. So you've got to think about pulling up from further journeys into a criminal lifestyle. Pull up now before you get too old.
Today he's come to Woolgoongu Nalu, a live-in program for Aboriginal offenders, 200 kilometres east of Melbourne.
Real blackfellas don't go bashing the women in our community, humbugging at our elders' places and that. And real blackfellas oughtn't to be shooting white powder. And I say that...
Woolgoongu Nalu was built on the site of an old prison where Jack served time.
Ah. Oh, look at this, eh? Art. This used to be the old woodworking room.
He's eager to see if there's any trace of the pottery workshop where he once worked.
So this was the old room?
There it is. Oh, yes, yeah, this was the old kiln room. Ah, you still got the old kiln. Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, wow. Well,
What are your dreams for the future, Jack?
I dream of being able to go in at will into any institution.
Do you think you're on a bit of a crusade now, just going back to religious language?
Anything that I do is a crusade. Everything I do, it seems to be. I'm on this journey. It's a crusade journey. I don't mind saying that.
What would you say Christianity means to you now?
Well, it's strange, you see, because I keep the faith, you know. I know what's right, what's good, and
Ten
that kind of
Commandments.
stuff. But and I try and keep to the 10 Commandments. But I've employed my Aboriginality as my religion now.
Now, what do you mean by that?
I use it as a religion, I've taken on, instead of God, I've found that the Godhead is within me, you know, and that I look deep into myself for the answers that I need in order to approach people, in order to talk to people, using the Christian ethics, but I use my Aboriginality. I've turned it over and says, well, I'm an Aboriginal. One part of me says I'm a little black Buddha, you know, little in miniature, you know, and that I'm solely directed towards making an accommodation with both black and white.
And you're just a little humble man in the midst of it too.
I've taken over Foley's job here in Melbourne as the mouth in the south.
Well, Jack, it has been a lot of fun, and thank you very much indeed for joining Compass.
Absolutely amazing talk to you, Geraldine. I've seen you over many years, and, you know, another thrill stacked up.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're my bread when I'm hungry.
And Jack Charles' star is certainly on the rise. Since completing that story, Jack became the first Indigenous person to win a Lifetime Achievement Award at Victoria's Green Room Awards. And he's landed a part in the new Peter Pan feature film, Pan, starring Hugh Jackman. It's being shot in London for release in 2015.
You're my best friend.
Next on Compass.
The guy's got to be crazy. He's going to train children in an orphanage in India to make money out of the financial markets. He's nuts.
They are highly motivated, and they come from backgrounds whereby all they want to do is be able to help their own people.
Congratulations, well done, first trade, made money.
Orphans on Wall Street. It's next week on Compass. See you then.